Thank you very much. We're very happy to be here. This is our first time at an Open Minds event. So we're very happy that you've come to listen to what we have to say. And just before we get started, do you mind if I ask, by a show of hands, please, do you represent an organization that is a disability service provider, support provider? Okay, so most of you. Okay, great. Then you're in the right room. So we're not going to take a deep dive into how the Grant Care platform works, but I'm going to tell you a few stories as we go. But just the gist of it is that Grant Care is a remote monitoring and remote support platform, and it helps people with disabilities live more independently, and it helps agencies like yours support more people without more staff. And that's really the key here. That's what's driving a lot of these organizations to call us up to say, I saw what you did with the other organization. Can we please do that too? So that's really what we're about. And I'll explain a little bit about how it works. We work with wireless motion sensors like this one, smart switches, which is like an outlet that Grant Care can control in the home, so turn on and off lights anywhere in the home. And we use Bluetooth medical devices too, so if people have to take a biometric reading at home, if they're managing a chronic health condition, Grant Care helps with that too. First of all, though, so Grant Care is not new. We've been around for almost 19 years, so we're not in beta. We've been doing this for a while. And I feel like I have to explain very often, because if you've been in the disability space for a long time, you may be wondering, where did these people come from out of nowhere with this incredibly mature platform? The reason is because we've been developing this platform in a parallel lane for the aging services, right? It's mom and dad getting older at home. They need some monitoring. They need easy connectivity. Maybe they have chronic health conditions that they need looked after, and so on. And we were just happy pursuing that market for many years. And then a few years back, we were approached by a group in Cincinnati, a disability support organization in Cincinnati. They came to us after having vetted us against like 20 other platforms. And they came to us and they told us that they wanted to completely reinvent their service delivery model using technology for home and community-based services in similar settings. And they asked us to help them do it. And the reason they came to us, according to them, is because we already did almost everything they wanted. And so they asked us to help them do this, and we said yes. And we spent the better part of a year doing software development, getting requirements on the features and the functionality that they wanted added to the Grant Care platform. And we did that, and the culmination of that partnership was that this organization opened a brand new smart home. 4 men with disabilities moved into it. And they're there to this day. They've never lived in an independent setting like that before. They still have 24/7 support. It's just most of it is remote support. And nearby Xavier University, there in Cincinnati, took an interest in this whole project. And they undertook a 3-year study. I didn't know this at the time. 1 year before the guys moved in, and 2 years after. And this was the Department of Occupational Therapy. And when they finally issued their results, and when I read their paper, I was stunned. It's nice that you feel like what you're doing is good and helping and works, right? But it's another thing to have somebody come in from outside to validate that in such a concrete way. And I'll be sharing what exactly they found in a little bit. First of all, what's the value proposition of Grant Care in the disability space? Well, there's really a couple of problems that we help address. Number one is that in-person support isn't very independent, right? If you have to have your mom or a DSP or some other individual remind you to brush your teeth and take a shower and do all the things that you need to do in your daily life, that's not really very independent at all. And so it's not really the best way to receive those supports in many cases. And of course, there's money, right? If Where's the money going to come from to provide all the supports to the people that need it? I think I just read the other day that there was more than 600,000 people on waiting lists for home and community-based services. I got an email. You probably got it too. But finally, even if all the money was there, where would you get the workforce? Where's the people? They're gone. I recently explained to me that big corporations in America have seen this coming for a long time, that very soon there would not be enough people to do all the jobs. And that this is one of the main reasons why we have been now taught to check out our own groceries, right? To order our sandwiches on a kiosk, type of thing. And part of the reason that they've done that is because they've known that this is a demographic fact that's happening. And then, of course, COVID happened. And everybody my age and older, or a lot of us, we retired. We said, screw this. I'm not going back to work. I'm done. And so what happens is the labor force shrinks just a little bit more. And which are the jobs that suffer the worst? Well, it's the ones that are the hardest and that pay the least. And here we are. So we help address these problems because, remote support is just a lot more efficient than in-person support, right? I think one of our customers told us that they went from a ratio of support people to supported people of, 1 to 6, and they went to 1 to 20. And so that's not nothing. So let's talk about the ways that Grand Care kind of works. First of all, ADL and med reminders. This is a big part of what a lot of people with disabilities need support with. So, there's the existing way to do things is that your mom or a DSP or somebody else has to remind you to do all those daily activities that you need to do to get through your day. And, that leads to, in some cases, lots of unwanted behavior. Because when you have two people in that equation, you can have heads that butt, and whether it's your mom or it's somebody else, that can be not good. And removing one of those people, or at least putting them at a distance, can really eliminate a lot of those unwanted behaviors, and it's just a better experience for everyone in that way. So with Grand Care, the way we do this is you can see that reminders come up on the screen, and you'll probably see some here. And then what our supported person is going to do is they'll do that activity, and then when they've done doing it, they'll check it off to dismiss it until it comes time to do that same activity tomorrow. And so here's another one that comes up. And again, they're going to see that, and they're going to hear it, and they're going to do that activity, and they'll touch the screen to dismiss it just like the others. And I think we have maybe a med, maybe not. I think there's a med reminder on here. But you get the idea. And notice there's a button to say, no, I'm not doing that today. People have choices. We recognize that. We've got a button for that. We've got a no button, no thanks. So that's just one of the ways that we have of automating that sort of reminder. We also have a way to help with more complex tasks. So if a task has multiple steps in it, Grand Care can come up with a reminder that reads all the steps in this activity out loud, and then we'll automatically play a video for that person. And it doesn't have to be, but it may be a video of that person doing that activity in their own home with their own stuff, so that they always have that example of success in front of them every time they go to do that activity. And I've seen customers use this feature for all kinds of things. I've seen it used for how to perform a household chore. I've seen it used for how to operate an appliance. I've seen it used for meal prep and just countless other things. Anything that has multiple steps that people would like that level of prompting for. And of course, we also do medication reminders, right? And the medication reminder is a little bit different because usually the remote support team is going to want to be notified about medication non-adherence events, right? Scott didn't acknowledge his medication today. Maybe I should ask him why. And of course, Grand Care does video calling. So your support team is never more than one touch away. Excuse me. Right, and the cool thing about the way that we do video calls on Grand Care is that there's no, on the touchscreen end, on the supported person's end, there's no usernames, there's no passwords, there's no addresses. We don't have any of that stuff. You just touch the picture and the name of the person you want to talk to, and that's it. And these are encrypted, HIPAA-compliant video calls. So if you have clinical people on your staff that need to do some work over that, then you're good to go. But it also can include family, if you'd like to include them in the GrandCare experience, because we do have an app in the App Store. It's free. It's just called GrandCare. You download it and log into it the same way you would do on our website as a professional caregiver. So I mentioned, I think, that GrandCare is a fully featured telehealth platform, and we have a health device here. We do blood pressure, oxygen, weight, temperature, and blood glucose, all the usual suspects. So the way that GrandCare helps with this is that it, again, can put an on-screen reminder to take that health reading at the time that you're supposed to take it. And then when that person does take that reading, it will automatically and wirelessly be transmitted to their GrandCare chart. And it gets better because GrandCare does not require the remote support team to log into the website and sort of eyeball the charts and graphs to figure out if it looks right. Instead, we allow the remote support team to designate conditions under which they need to be notified about, right? If Scott's blood pressure is greater than 130, then text Hans, right? Or, GrandCare can reach out to support team members by text message, by phone call, by email, or if you're logged into the website, that's another way that GrandCare can let you know that one of those things has happened. Or maybe you want to know if I just didn't take my reading. You can be notified about that too. So in the old way, how does this work, right? So you have somebody that reminds this fellow to take his blood pressure, and then it gets written down in a notebook, and that's kind of the end of it. With GrandCare, it's a little bit better than that because, as I said, we can put up that prompt. And by the way, that orange circle there, that's what a supported person can touch if they would like to have GrandCare read this out loud to them, because we recognize not everyone is a reader. And there's the charts. So there's a rule, a notification rule. And, of course, there's all the devices that we use. And, of course, GrandCare does activity monitoring. And this one's really crucial for a lot of our customers in the disability space. For the smart home that I mentioned, that's the first of many that this organization has opened, and the first of many, many that have opened in emulation of what they have done. Now, I happen to know that at this organization, there's an individual who's supported by them who has a sleep-related eating disorder. I'm sure you know just what I'm talking about. Well, this individual would sometimes get up in the middle of the night, go into the kitchen, and not only eat a bunch of things that he shouldn't have, but sometimes eat things that are not even food. And so it was a very dangerous situation. And for this reason, this individual, although they were otherwise pretty independent, had to have somebody in their home in the overnight hours, just so that when this individual would get up and go into the kitchen, that person could approach them and say, "Hey, Scott, what are you doing up at 2 o'clock in the morning? Don't you think you should go back to bed?" And it turns out that was all the intervention that this person needed to go, "Oh, yeah, I guess I probably should." And it just, Hans, what do we got going here?
Brush your teeth.
Reminder, right? And so I think there's like 9 or 10 different sounds you can choose from to accompany these messages. Myself, I prefer my GrandCare to be silent because I don't like things beeping at me. It gives me anxiety. So mine's totally silent. I guess I should point out that everybody that works at GrandCare, from the CEO to the office manager, people who do procurement, all of us have GrandCare in our homes. We use this every day. That is my most used feature, to remind me to take the garbage out on Monday night, because I will forget, right? And so I use it the same way like you would do with your smartphone. Your smartphone makes a sound, and you say, "Oh, I've got a meeting with Scott in 10 minutes," right? Same sort of thing. So this is the old way. Very inefficient. You have to pay a staff person to be in this person's home for an entire 8-hour shift. And what does it cost to put somebody there? $25, $30 an hour? And it's obviously not very independent. GrandCare can do things a better way, because when the motion sensor sees that this individual is in the kitchen in the overnight hours, it can alert a remote support team who can do a video call directly into the kitchen and have that same conversation. Hey, Scott, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Don't you think you should probably go back to bed? And that 60 seconds is all that individual needed, and so that's all they get, right? The rest of the time, the rest of their evening, they can be in their own private place without anybody else having to be there. And of course, our remote support person is probably supporting 10, 15, 20 other people in this way, right? And there's a whole lot more that we do, and I'll talk about some of that right now. Excuse me. We also have community-enhancing features. And by community, I mean a community can mean absolutely everyone in your grand care world, or it can mean just the people that like classic cars, or it can mean the people who have diabetes, or, and it's a way for the remote support teams to push out content just to the people who need them and want them, right? And it's things like community-wide calendaring, community-wide messaging. Hey, the chess club's not meeting on Tuesday. We're meeting on Wednesday instead, right? And it's nice, too, that when people's grand care touchscreens remind them that an activity is happening in 30 minutes, then they're more likely to do it, right? And that's engagement. Speaking of which, Hans and I both know the founders of Grand Care very well, which is how we know that ever since the beginning, we've recognized that Grand Care cannot just be a big plate of steamed vegetables that you have to eat because it's good for you. There has to be some dessert too. And so Grand Care's always had games and other fun things to do on the touchscreen. But boy, during the pandemic, when everyone was stuck at home, we leaned into that pretty hard. And we made a whole bunch of other cool features for people to use, including live radio. Radio, as you know, is pretty regional. So at first, we just rolled it out to a few hundred people in the state of Wisconsin, where Grand Care headquarters is. And people went crazy for it. We still don't know why. It's now one of the most popular things to do with your Grand Care touchscreen is listen to the radio. And so now we do radio across the country and even in the United Kingdom. But it's not just that. We also have on-demand audio content. It's things like old-time radio shows like The Shadow and Dragnet and fun stuff like that. I was really happy that we got Car Talk because I'm that many years old that I spent a lot of time listening to this show. You probably did too, some of you. But it's not there anymore, so what do? But now there's dozens of episodes to listen to anytime you want to. And the last thing we snuck in here was audiobooks. It's classic literature, stuff that's out of copyright. So it's Anne of Green Gables. It's The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. It's The Call of the Wild and A Christmas Carol and all that fun stuff like that anyone can touch their screen and listen to chapter by chapter anytime they want. We also are great with on-demand video. And that's really a really, really handy thing for a variety of purposes. But the way that we do on-demand video is typically through a YouTube video. And what that means is that almost anything on YouTube can be made into a button on someone's Grand Care touchscreen that they can touch and watch anytime they want to, as many times as they want. And that's pretty cool for things like health-related things. Like, here's if you come home from the doctor with a new diagnosis and, here's the 9 things that you need to do differently in your life. Who's going to remember that? I don't. So it'd be nice if I had that content somewhere where I could review it anytime I want to. It's also handy for a lot of other things. We make available to our customers who want them fitness videos. We hired a personal trainer, did workouts with her. Now we make them available to any of our customers who want to use them. And it's important to realize, too, that the Grand Care touchscreen, it has a default set of buttons on it, and that's probably how these are set up. Hans, do you want to show the main menu? But it's important to know that that touchscreen and all the buttons that appear on it are completely configurable by you, the support agency, in conjunction with that supported person and their needs and wants, right? So if they only want one button on there, then that's all they're going to have. If they want to have absolutely everything, then they can have it. So it's really, it's a very flexible tool, and we recognize that people are different, and so you're going to have your Grand Care's experience is going to be different than mine. Mine's going to be different than yours. And that's just the way we like it. What else? Yeah, I was explaining earlier how exactly we got here. We operated in the senior space for many years exclusively. Well, I mean, we've always had disability customers, don't get me wrong. There have been plenty of people over the years who have seen our platform and said, that would be really cool for my brother, or that would be really cool for somebody else I know, right? But the disability space was not a market that we were pursuing in any way at all. But then, of course, that disability support agency came to us and asked us if we would, slightly change our platform to accommodate this population. And we thought, good idea. It sounds like a cool project. And so we did it. What we didn't anticipate is that smart home would get national attention. It was on the news. And you may have seen videos of it. If you haven't, see me after. I'll hook you up. But it's really cool. A lot of people saw that, and that's when the phone calls started coming from other agencies across the country who wanted to know how they had done this and if they could do it too. And that is why we have been flying across the country all year so far to onboard new customers everywhere in multiple states. So I told you, though, that we were going to talk about the Xavier University study. And so you can see some of the results are here. So they did, like I said, a 3-year study, 1 year before the guys moved in, when they were still at home or wherever supervised setting that they were living in, and 2 years after they moved in. And so what they found, I told you, I found it astonishing. And you can see right here, the dramatic reduction in in-person support hours that cut the total cost of supporting these men in half. But of course, none of that really means anything if you're not getting a good result, right? So, but the clever people at Xavier, they were occupational therapists, and so they knew exactly how to come in and evaluate the guys' ADLs. Were they doing them successfully? Were they doing them independently? And it turns out they were. And not only that, they felt great about it. Why not? Who wouldn't? So that's that Xavier study. There are studies happening right now. And so, that disability has now become the main part of our business. I mean, the change has been that dramatic. And I don't mind telling you that it's been really rewarding for us to sort of make this pivot. We still serve the senior space, don't get me wrong. We do. But disability has exploded for Grand Care. And we couldn't be happier because, let me tell you something. I'm the sales director, and I can tell you something with absolute certainty. Selling technology to older people is a fool's errand. It doesn't go well, usually. And not only that, but you might imagine, too, that when your 87-year-old mother sees you bring in a Grand Care into her home, how do you think she feels about that? Well, she feels like she's losing some of her independence. I get it. I get that. That's a change from, I didn't used to need this, now maybe I need this, right? Different in the disability world, right? Because when they see Grand Care coming in, they think, I'm going to get more independence, right? I'm going to get independence that I didn't have before. And they love it. Our experience has been very, very positive. We've met people all over the country who are new Grand Care users, and it just couldn't be more rewarding for us. And we're very happy that this chain of events has happened and brought us to you. And not only that, but I just want to also say that the other thing that we've learned is that the people who do this work and the agencies that they work for, you're all very special people. And we've learned that real quickly. That it takes a special kind of person to do this work. And so we're very proud to be able to help you do it. And I think that's all I had prepared to say, but you may all have additional questions or comments for us.
Questions? Here, let me come to you because we're recording, and we'd like to get this on tape for others to hear later.
That's fantastic. So I know that it alerts with the sound but can you get it to speak? Because we do support people who can't read, so brushing teeth means nothing to them.
Yeah. In fact, so there's a number of ways that can happen. Good question. Can GrandCare talk to you? The answer is yes. So every single ADL reminder, to-do reminder is what we call them, it can be accompanied by that orange button that I mentioned in the corner. That if one comes up here, I'll show you. But you can touch that button, or a supported person can touch it, and then GrandCare will read that entire reminder out loud to them. It's also possible to have a med reminder just come right out and say, it's time to take your meds. You don't have to touch anything. So all of that can happen. I hope that answers your question.
For the community enhancement pieces, can you configure your own content? If you wanted to put
like
your own YouTube,
for community content, you mean?
Yeah, if you wanted to put your own training video.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's again a very good question. Can you use your own content? And of course you can. We do make short videos available to our customers that we just make, or we have our kids make. You know, how to fry an egg, how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or whatever it is, so that can be available to someone when they need that. But you're free to make your own content of any kind, whether it's photographs, images, video, or anything else that you can make available to that person's GrandCare touchscreen. And leads me to another point, too, that one of the things that we really, really like to see, and we strongly, strongly encourage our customers, our new customers, to do this. In fact, we encourage it so strongly that we offer to do it for them. And that is to customize everyone's GrandCare touchscreen with stuff that they like, right? So if this person is into Star Wars, I want to see some Star Wars pictures in that slideshow, right? And I want to see some video-related content to that. So that when they get their GrandCare, they know that it's theirs, right? And that really helps with adoption. We've had people with all sorts of interests, like one lady that really loved Elvis. It's highly recommended that the content be personalized for each individual. Other questions?
I have a question. I'm interested in, if you talked about it, because I came in late, just tell me and I'll catch you at the reception hall. But your business model, like I'm interested in who your primary buyer is. Are you selling to agencies? Are you selling to individual family members, to support their individual in their home? They're a caregiving parent, something like that. And also in the selling to agencies, and people in the audience might be able to answer this, where's the funding stream coming from to support the purchase? I'm just interested in what your experience has been. You're in multiple states.
Yeah, boy, that's a big question. As you know, every state operates a little bit differently in terms of Medicaid and how the waivers work and how the dollars are spent and who gets to decide what and all of that. In most cases, our customers are the nonprofit support agencies. That they turn to us, or I reach out to them and show them GrandCare, and they say, yeah, let's do this. We have people in our population who could be receiving supports remotely or in an automated way. And by the way, it's our philosophy that if someone can receive some of their supports remotely or in an automated way, then they should, because that's the most independent way to have that until somebody invents something better. So in some cases, though, it's the MCOs. Like we'll have a managed care organization come to us and say, I've seen what you do. I want all of the agencies in my support network, I'm going to make it available to all of them. And so that can be really cool. The other thing that I've been doing the last few months is I've been reaching out to state governments, just going right to the state government. Because, the deputy secretary of whatever it is for disability services, that's all public information. So I can just call the office, right? And show them what we do. And it's really different. I mean, some states are like, that looks really cool, but we want no part of helping you get GrandCare distributed in our state. That's on you, and no thanks. Other states have been really aggressive with trying to get their agencies to adopt GrandCare. And so it really varies a lot. But so far, most of our customers in this space are the disability support organizations, and occasionally we'll get MCOs that buy directly from us. Oh, and about families. Yeah, I mean, we don't really pursue the consumer market, but they do call us up sometimes, and we don't turn them away. It usually is more expensive to get grant care that way, obviously, because it requires a lot more work for just one unit of sale, right? But that leads me to one other point I wanted to make real quickly, which is that most of our supported people in the disability world will have more than one grant care touchscreen. And why is that? Well, in some cases, you'll have multiple supported people in the same home, right? As in the smart home that we talked about here. 4 men with disabilities live there. They each have their own personal grant care touchscreen, and it has their med reminders, their ADL reminders, their family photos on it, and all the stuff that's just for them. And usually it's in their room. But what if they're not in their room? How do they get their reminders to do things or take their medication and whatnot? How does that happen? Well, there is a grant care touchscreen in the kitchen, but that reminder gets sanitized when it shows up on the kitchen. It just says, hey, Scott, there's something you need to go check out on your touchscreen. Because we don't think grant care needs to tell all your house guests what medication you're taking. We can do better than that. In addition to that, we use the smart switch, the outlet. So if you're at a third location where there's no touchscreen, grant care can turn on a bat signal, turn on a light, turn on a lamp to let you know, there's something I need to go check out on my touchscreen. And so there may be touchscreens in multiple locations in the house. There's usually at least one in the kitchen, because the kitchen is a great place to receive video support, as you might imagine. Other questions?
Well, just following up on that, using your example of the person with a nighttime eating disorder, is it fair to assume that, when you go into, say, a group setting like that you're looking at the individuals that are there, their diagnoses, their behavioral issues, and you may have in addition to their personal screen, you may have more than just in the kitchen, but the configuration changes from home to home?
It absolutely does. Every supported person in every home that grant care is used in, well, they have their own unique parts list, right? Because they have their own unique needs, right? So in a case like that smart home, they just went all out. They put motion sensors in every room, including bathrooms, so that they could be notified about things like, if there's motion continually in this location for more than 45 minutes, what's going on there? Usually people are not in the bathroom for that long. It depends on what the needs and concerns are of the people who live there.
So you're selling a software and hardware package. What if I have touch screens? The whole house is full of them. I have tablets, laptops with touch screens. Can I just get the software and install it on there, or do I need to buy the whole package?
Yeah, the answer is probably not. We do use a standard Intel chipset touch PC. That's what these are. But we have to get these models in, make sure our software works correctly on them, put them through QA before we can sell them to people. And so for that reason, Grant Care is not just an app that you can download. But here's the thing, though, is if you have 1,000 touch screens that would work, then maybe we could talk about it. Maybe it can become something that we do support.
You may have said this. I apologize if I missed it. But as a quick follow-up to that, can they be used for other purposes, the touch screen systems, or they only can be used for Grant Care?
Yeah, great question. No, Grant Care, you can't stream Netflix on it, and you don't check your Gmail with it. It only does Grant Care. It's a single-purpose device. Yeah.
Why not?
The real reason is because some people shouldn't have access to the open internet in that way.
No, I understand. It was a bad joke. My apologies. I do have a question.
Question in the back?
Great. No, great.
Hi, Scott. I just wanted to know, as far as like training and support is concerned, would you come in and train a staff how to use and operate this? Is like ongoing training support a thing? How does that work?
Yeah, another good question. So yes, it's optional. If you want to have Grand Care personnel come to your location, and we can do two things when we're there. We can do classroom instruction, and we can do installation with you. So we can actually install the equipment that you've just bought. It is optional, but we strongly encourage our new customers to do that. And of course, we do have a comprehensive 8-hour online training course that you get as a site license when you buy Grand Care. So you can train up all your staff as they come and go, and no problem.
Thank you. Any other questions? Scott, Hans, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate the demonstration and the talk. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you all so much.